I don't know if I want to go back and redo it, which I don't think I realized how large that was until I went to the store and picked up this pillow. They're so cute. Oh, I love them. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Knee Knits. My name is Amy, and here I talk about all things knitting, and today's podcast, episode number 31, where I'll be sharing what I've been knitting for the past 2 weeks. In today's episode, we have some updates on my ongoing whips, some sweaters that I've been working on, and I do have a few new projects to share with you. They're small projects, and some of them are even crochet projects. I know, I'm bringing back crochet. I haven't touched a crochet hook in a long time, but looking forward to sharing all the updates with you guys, and I have a few acquisitions to share as well. I hope you're all enjoying a great start to your March. I can't believe it's already March, and I know I feel like I say that every episode, I can't believe it's already fill in the blank, but I just feel like time goes so quickly, and especially with winter being so knitwear heavy, it's kind of fun to anticipate spring and summer upcoming and start some new projects and try to get some things off my needles that I still have been working on since the beginning of the winter. In the anticipation of spring, I am wearing one of my warmer weather knits. This is my Cumulus Tee. It's a pattern by Petite Knit. I knit this out of Knitting for Olive pure silk in the color Dusty Artichoke, and it's just a top-down raglan t-shirt with a v-neck, I-cord shaping, or I-cord edges, and yeah, I really like wearing it. I think it's a really good staple t-shirt. Would love to have another one in a different color one day, but we'll see when I actually get to making it. No finished objects in today's episode. We are just going straight into my works in progress. The first project that I'll share with you all is my Aurelia Pullover by Sari Nordlund. The Aurelia Pullover is a top-down raglan sweater with all over cables and texture, and I am knitting mine out of Sorella Yarns Classic TK in the color Folklore, which is this beautiful purpley gray color. And I'm knitting size 2 for myself with 4.5mm needles to meet gauge, and I finished the body on it, so that's exciting. I worked on this a lot over the past weekend and was able to get through the body. When deciding how long I wanted to make the body, I have been making a conscious effort to make my sweaters more cropped, and when I say cropped, I don't mean like a cropped fit, just more cropped than what the pattern usually suggests. I kind of like my tops to hit at my high-waisted jeans. If they're significantly longer than that, I find there's too much fabric to tuck in, and I really do like tucking in my shirts to give some definition at the waistline. That's just how I like to style most of my clothing. So I feel like the body does look short when you look at it, but it fits me pretty well where it hits a little bit past my waist, and this is a superwash yarn, so I know that once it blocks, it is going to grow a bit, both in width and in length. So this, once trying it on, was a good body length for me. The ribbing details are half twisted rib, so you knit through the back loop of the knit stitch and you purl regularly. So on the inside it's just regular 1x1 rib, but on the outside it is twisted rib. I did finish with a sewn bind off, no tubular, just went straight into the Italian bind off, and I think it looks really good. It of course matches the half twisted rib folded collar. All I have left to do are the sleeves. The sleeves will feature this cabling motif that will go down the entire sleeve, as well as some other accents with the double moss stitch, and I have no idea how long these sleeves are going to take me. Obviously with the cables it might be a bit of, some time, but I'm looking forward to getting this off my needles. I do have a while to go, but this has been a really fun project to see grow, and I know it's going to be one of those projects that I really love wearing and looking back at in the future, so I'm excited to have some significant progress on this. The next project I'll share is my Ollie Sweater. This is a drop shoulder sweater by Marita Harvey, also known as Second Knit on Instagram. It's kind of oversized and features 2x2 ribbing and a curved hem. So I have been knitting mine out of 2 yarns held together. The speckly yarn is Woolberry Fibre Co's Berry Cozy Sock in the color Rabbit Rump, which is this white cream color yarn with all these black and gray speckles. And I am holding it with a Sari alpaca lace yarn undyed from Birch and Lily, and it's making this really fun Oreo cookies and cream fabric. And I'm knitting the size 2 on 4mm needles for myself. You can see the progress that I've made. I've finished the body, and I've started and almost finished the first sleeve, so all I have left to do is the second sleeve, which is very exciting because I want to get this off my needles. So one of the main features of this sweater is the curved hem. So it is shorter in the front and longer in the back, and you create that using short rows. So it's a little bit hard to see when I have it held up like this, but I'll put in a picture of it on a hanger where you can really see the curvature of the hem. I did do a modification where I didn't do as many short rows as the pattern specified. I think in the pattern, it specifies to give you like a difference of about 4 inches. So it'd be 4 inches longer in the back than the front. And I just didn't want my so long, like I just didn't think that was necessary. So I did maybe like a third of the short rows that I called for to give myself like a difference in length of about 2 inches. I know that math doesn't add up, but I'm just estimating. I didn't actually pull out a ruler yet and measure the difference between the front and the back. But after you do the short rows, you then go into the 2x2 ribbing for the bottom hem, and then it's all finished with some tubular bind off, which I think looks really good. After I finished the body, of course, I went on to the sleeves. Because it's drop shoulder, you pick up the sleeves along the edge, and there are decreases that go the whole length of the sleeve. This is a very significant drop shoulder, like it's a really wide body that goes pretty far down the arm, so my sleeves need to be pretty short, and it's gone by pretty quickly. You can see I've already started the ribbing on the sleeves. I just haven't quite finished it yet. It does look like it's a pretty wide sleeve. It's not as tapered as maybe I would have liked, but I think it'll be fine. It probably will match the super oversized slouchy vibe of the sweater as a whole. I think maybe in hindsight I would have wanted a more tapered sleeve, but I don't know if I want to go back and redo it. Like, I could go back and recalculate a different taper rate or decrease rate, but I don't know if I'll do that. I'll probably just stick it out with the wide sleeve and have this be another like very oversized sweater in my wardrobe. So yeah, this is my Ollie sweater, and I'm excited to finish this up. I mentioned that already, but hoping next podcast this will be a finished object, and maybe I'll get to wear it before it gets too warm out. We are experiencing kind of spring-like weather here in Massachusetts, but you know, I can't hold my breath. I feel like we might have another freezing week. I feel like it happens. It's like the false spring, and then winter comes back for a week or two, and then real spring begins. So we'll see if I get to wear this before the season is over. My next project is my Berlin scarf for the Fluffy Scarf Cal, which is still ongoing. As always, been really enjoying seeing everyone's posts on Instagram. If you're participating in the Cal, be sure to post with the hashtag FluffyScarfCal and tag myself and Originally Lovely, the co-hosts of the Cal, so we can see your posts and count you guys as entries for prizes. I'll quickly put up the info slide for the Fluffy Scarf Cal. It's not too late to join. Basically, you can knit any sort of scarf project with any sort of yarn. We're kind of emphasizing fluffy yarns, but no worries if you don't want to use a fluffy yarn, and we are offering some prizes at the end of the Cal. The conclusion of the Cal will be on March 16th. So post your WIP photos, post your finished object photos. Not required to finish your project by the end of the Cal. And it's been a really fun virtual community event. So I'll pull out my fluffy scarf, and it's gotten really long. So this is what I have so far on my Berlin scarf. It has grown immensely. I am almost done with my third ball of fluff. This is all I have left in this ball. This is Originally Lovely fluff. It is an alpaca chain blown yarn. This is the color Snow, which is a creamy white color, and it's super fluffy and lightweight and just really fun to knit with. I'm knitting my Berlin scarf on 6.5mm needles. It is a stockinette tube, so you end up with this beautiful squishy double layered fabric. It's super airy and light, but still feels like it's gonna be super warm. And yeah, it's been really fun to knit this up. It's super mindless, you know, you can just knit without thinking. And I will have to add the fringe at some point. I'll probably stop before I finish the full length of the scarf to add the fringe to sort of maximize my yarn usage. Like, add the fringe, calculate how much yarn I used for one side of the fringe, and then knit until I have that much left for the other side of the fringe. I'm not sure yet how long I want to make it. I do really like the way that Suzanne Mueller styles it in her post or in her photo of the pattern, where she has it wrapped around her neck and then drapes down, so it looks like it's really long. But I also feel like I could see practicality in having this be just like singularly draped over my neck. Basically what I'm saying is I would like to be able to wrap it around twice, but I don't want it to be so long where if I only want to wrap it around once like this, I don't want it to drag on the floor. So I need to figure out how long that needs to be. Right now we're like at here. And this is the third ball. So I could see using like 5 balls being like a decent length, and it is gonna grow a bit with blocking, I think, so I'll keep you guys posted. Again, this might also be a finished object in next episode, so looking forward to wrapping this up. And again, I'm not sure if I'll get a chance to wear it by the end of the season, but will be really fun if I do. And if not, it's all right. I think I'll be super excited to have a freshly knit scarf ready to go by the time next winter or fall rolls around. It looks really nice folded up, and there is still an ongoing discount code for this yarn and any other Originally Lovely yarn. If you're interested in using it for your fluffy scarf project, you can use the code FluffyScarf at checkout to get 20% off your order. That code is valid until March 15th, and I am an affiliate with Originally Lovely, so if you do want to shop using my affiliate link, that will be available in the description box of the video. So those are all the updates on my whips. I don't have any updates on that pair of socks that I was working on last episode, and yeah, that's pretty much all I've touched for the past 2 weeks. Kind of light knitting week, which is okay. I did start a few new projects, and one of them was the Manhattan hat by Tori Yu. It's just a 1x1 ribbed tube for now. Also really small and portable. The yarn that I'm using was gifted to me by Knit Picks. This is their high desert worsted weight yarn in the color Quail, which is this kind of steely gray color. And this is a 100% American grown and spun wool. It's 75% merino and 25% Rambouillet, non-superwash, and in the worsted weight 100 gram ball, there's 217 yards of yarn. So with this one skein, I am making the Manhattan hat size adult medium, and my plan is just a single fold because I think that's about all I can get with the one ball of yarn. So with the Manhattan hat, I haven't really gotten to the exciting part yet, the crown. The only things I can really talk about are the cast on. I did a tubular cast on, and I think it looks really neat and tidy. I'm just doing, straight 1x1 rib, and then the crown shaping is when all of the excitement will happen. I am using 4mm needles, which is a size up from the suggested needle size, and it fits pretty well. I can tell it's going to be a good snug ribbed hat. I'm excited to block this and see how the yarn feels after it's blocked. I feel like right now my ribbing tension has some room for improvement. You can see some irregularities, but I think blocking will help with that. I don't know, maybe if I kept with the smaller needle size, it would help with the tidiness of the rib stitches, but I've really enjoyed knitting with this yarn regardless. It has a beautiful texture. It feels very squishy, which might be the ribbing, but in addition to feeling squishy, it's very smooth. It has a lightness about it while still feeling very sturdy, and I don't want to say sturdy in a bad way. It's not stiff, but it just feels very hardy and like a good solid yarn. It has kind of a brushed feel, there's some brushed texture about it, but I really like it, and I think I'm gonna give this yarn a good opinion. Obviously I'm not done knitting this project and I haven't worn this project, so I can't speak anything to that yet, but I will share once I'm done with this how I like wearing it and how it feels on my skin. It doesn't feel like it will have any itchiness at all. It feels like a superwash merino in the best way. It doesn't have the weird springiness that superwash yarn sometimes can feel like, but it does just have that smoothness and brushed softness that I think is really nice to knit with and really nice in a finished fabric. So yeah, this is my Manhattan hat, and I think this will also be finished by the next time I film a podcast. I got a lot of projects to finish, and next episode sounds like it'll be pretty finished object heavy, but yeah, looking forward to finishing this and adding another beanie to my collection. I have prepared my next project, and when I say prepared, I mean I started it, but I just wanted to show you all how I have it set up beautifully in my fun little knitting basket. and I started with my first square of my Stella quilt cushion. The Stella quilt cushion is a pattern by Laura Penrose. It's a pillow and it has this beautiful sort of heirloom quilt motif. There are actually 2 motifs to pick from and 2 different yarn weights that you can use for the pattern, either DK weight or Aran weight. I am using DK weight for my pillow cover, so I'm knitting my squares with 4mm needles and using DK weight yarn for the main color, and then I have fingering weight yarns for the contrast colors that I will hold double. So for the Stella quilt cushion, you start with a square and you can sort of use your square as your gauge swatch. So I'd actually knit my first square last week or 2 weeks ago on 4.5mm needles because the pattern calls for 4mm needles. I'm a tight knitter. 9 times out of 10 I have to size up my needle size for patterns, so I just wanted to get ahead of the game and I sized up with my first square, and that was actually not the best choice. I ended up with a square that was too big. You're supposed to end up with about a 4x4 inch square or 10x10 centimeter square, so I went back down to 4mm needles, and this square fits the bill quite perfectly at 4x4 inches. It is a garter stitch square that you work from corner to corner. You have slip stitches at the edges to make really clean lines that you will later use to pick up the other squares, and then follow a diagram that shows you how to arrange all the colors and which directions to knit all the squares. And it seems like a really fun project, so I'm excited to get this on my needles. My main color here is Sorella Yarns Classic DK in the color Townhouse. This is just a sandy ivory color. This is frogged for my Whitmore cardigan, so I have a full sweater's quantity of yarn to use for this pillow. So one of these squares is 10 grams. You do have to do the whole back panel in your main color, and then there's also kind of like a fold over envelope closure. So I'm expecting to use maybe about 2 to 3 skeins of the DK weight yarn. And then for my contrasting colors or accent colors, I am using the Sorella Yarn Winter Tonals mini set that was gifted to me. There's 8 colors, so I'm doing 8 different colors for each point of the star. I'm doing the second motif. The Sorella Yarn Winter Tonal collection had 10 colors. There were 2 very light creamy colors that just didn't have enough contrast with this yarn, so this was perfect to pull those 2 colors out and then leave these, this keeps flopping over, and then leave these as my color palette. I did take some time to arrange my colors and decide how I wanted them to lay in the star. I kind of alternated between like the cooler colors and the warmer colors, but that's not like a hard and fast rule for what I ended up with, but I thought that this was a good layout of all the colors, so that's what I'm going to follow for my pillow. I also already purchased the pillow because I thought that purchasing ahead of time would motivate me to knit it. I feel like if I didn't purchase this till the end, I would have an easy time kind of putting the project away and not finishing it. The cover is for a 20-inch by 20-inch pillow, which I don't think I realized how large that was until I went to the store and picked up this pillow. This is definitely big, which is awesome. I'm excited to have such a large accent pillow for either here on the bed or in our living room. And yeah, I just got this at Joann. I did splurge on the Premier filling. This is my first ever pillow project, so I've never worked with pillow inserts before. I know nothing about them, but this seems like a pretty decent pillow insert to use. Now, the Stella quilt cushion is a very directionally based pattern. The construction of all of the squares, it's very specific with what direction you knit the squares and which squares you do first and second and in the consecutive order. There's a very well drawn out diagram in the pattern that you can follow exactly, so you can just construct it according to the pattern, and you should be good to go if you can read the diagram. Now, as a left-handed knitter, directionality is everything. I knit in the mirror direction of right-handed knitters, so any pattern that's knit for right-handed knitting, which is pretty much every pattern, I knit like the reverse way. And usually that doesn't cause too many issues when I'm knitting something that is symmetrical. Like a lot of garments are pretty much always symmetrical. accessories, things that are round, socks, hats, those I really don't have to do much as a left-handed knitter, but this pattern I definitely need to adjust the pattern, and luckily there is a drawn out diagram because I can just pop that into Canva or Microsoft Word and mirror the image. So then all of the directions that the arrows are pointing get mirrored, and then that way as I follow the written directions, now my knitting direction matches the image. So I haven't started any of the major construction on this pattern yet. I am assuming that when I mirrored the image, it should be good to go, but I'll let you know if I run into any hiccups. I'm really glad that there was a picture, because if there wasn't a picture, charts are super easy to mirror, pictures and diagrams are really easy to mirror, but written out instructions are not easy to mirror. I believe in the original pattern, if you knit right-handed, you start in the bottom right corner, and so this is your first square, and then you work in this direction for your first row. But because I'm left-handed, I'm starting with the bottom left corner and I'll be knitting in this direction. Really excited to see how all of these colors knit up. They're just so beautiful. So yeah, that's my Stella quilt cushion update. One other project I have to update you all on is a crochet project, and that is my Scrappy crochet granny square blanket. And I started this early last year, and I really haven't touched it since early last year. So if you guys have been with me for a while, you might remember these granny squares that I started to make last year, and they were inspired by Nitty Natty's Scrappy Crochet Granny Square Blanket, and she does have a free pattern on Ravelry on how to make these Scrappy Granny Squares out of fingering weight yarn. I am using a D hook, which is 3.25 millimeter, I almost said needle, 3.25 millimeters for the hook. And these are the Clover Amour hooks that I really love using. They're definitely my favorite crochet hooks. As someone who doesn't crochet that much, I have found that I really enjoy those hooks. So yeah, I decided to revive this project, and when I say revive, I feel like in my mind the project had kind of died. I didn't feel motivated to continue it after early last year. I think I was discouraged by the amount of squares that I need to crochet to make a decent sized blanket. And I've been talking about wanting to use up a lot of my scrap yarn. It's sort of my 2024 goals to have some sort of ongoing scrappy project. And I had talked about a few times wanting to make the Sweet Shop blanket by Laura Penrose, also a very popular pattern, very similar construction to the Stella quilt cushion. And I had said that I wanted to make that because in my mind, I was kind of done with this project. Maybe I would undo those squares, or I would just leave them to, I don't know what I would do with them, but I was like, that's in the past, let's start a new scrappy project. But the more I thought about it, I was like, why not just continue the scrappy project that I had already started? I don't know why, but I was starting to feel interested in crocheting again. It kind of comes in waves. 2022 for me was pretty big on crocheting. 2023, I barely crocheted anything, and I feel like 2024, I'm back in the crochet game. I want to get some more crochet projects going. And I really like granny squares. I feel like it's hard to explain, but my interest in crochet, I really like making small things. I don't like making large crochet projects. I have tried starting a few different crochet garments and never really gotten to the groove with that, and ended up frogging a few of them. But crochet granny squares I find are really fun, and they satisfy my crochet cravings while being small enough where it's just satisfying to make a square in an hour and then move on. It's also really fun to use up my variegated yarns. This is the sugar cookie yarns that I just finished making a pair of socks out of, and I just really like how variegated yarns look in the granny squares. So needless to say, I felt re-inspired by my Scrappy Granny blanket. I'm going to bring it back into rotation. I do have a sizable amount of scrap fingering weight yarn that I can make squares with until I use all of that up. I don't know if my current quantity of scraps is enough to finish a blanket anytime soon, but I think it's a good idea to start making those squares using up the scrap yarn and, put these aside until I have enough squares to make a good blanket. I have been making sure to weave in my ends as I go, and I've been blocking them in batches. You can see my squares are a little bit curvy, and a lot of people have recommended to me to turn my squares after every round to avoid the curving and the curling. So thank you for those suggestions. I probably will try that for some future squares. And my end goal is to connect them all with like a bare yarn. I'll probably order some bare fingering weight yarn from Knit Picks, pretty affordable. Have also been recommended to join as I go and not save all the squares for the very end. And I do appreciate that, and I totally understand how that would be very smart to do, because yeah, the joining all the squares is definitely going to be a daunting task. But I kind of want to wait to arrange all of my squares in a good color layout once I have all of them completed, because this is Scrappy and I don't know what scraps I'm going to have in the future. I feel like I can't plan out the color story for the blanket until I'm all done, which maybe I'll regret later on, but I think that'll be like a fun project for me to tackle when the time comes. So yeah, these are all of my Scrappy grannies. They're so cute. I love them. I have a lot of tonal yarns that I should probably start making squares out of. You can see most of these are variegated, but you guys know I use a lot of tonals as well, so we'll probably get some good solids going, which will kind of break up the busyness of the variegated squares. Now let's move on to some acquisitions. My first acquisition is a fun one to share. It was sent to me, it was gifted, and it is a big batch of hand-dyed yarn from Arcane Fiberworks. So this is their logo. They're based out of Canada, and Arcane Fiberworks reached out to me if I was interested in trying some of their yarn, and I said yeah, and they asked me what projects I like to make and what colors I like. So I told them I like to make socks out of hand-dyed yarn or beanies, and I also like pinks, blues, and some cool tones. And then they sent me like the gift, and I was expecting, you know, maybe a couple skeins of yarn to make like 1 to 2 pairs of socks. And I got this shipment, and it was this huge box. There's so much yarn. They were extremely generous with how much they sent me. I had no idea they were going to send me this many skeins of yarn. To say I'm overwhelmed is an understatement. I'm very grateful, of course. Did not expect this much yarn. Am not going to use this much yarn. So I will preface that I don't plan on keeping all of this. I would love to do a little giveaway. We are close to 20,000 subscribers, which is really exciting. So if we hit 20,000 subscribers, I will coordinate a giveaway with some of this yarn. But first, let me show you what's in here and what I plan on doing with it, because it does kind of fall into what I was just talking about earlier with my Scrappy Granny Square project. I'm kind of overwhelmed at the idea of showing you all these different colors, but I know you guys like seeing the different colors. I always do chapters, so if you want to like skip this part, if it gets long, feel free. But yeah, I'll just go through each one. They're all on the same base. They're all on the fingering weight sock base, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. There are 435 yards or 400 meters in each 100 gram skein, and I think it's a 3-ply. The ply check always gets me. It might be 3, it might be 4-ply. This is Blessed Bluebird. This is Hues of the Harbor. I really like this one. This is I Don't Believe in Humans, which I think is inspired by like unicorns. Winter Wonderland. This one's really cool. I'm curious how this one would knit up in like a stockinette sock. This is Jeweled. Really beautiful colors. Love that. We have Fairy Tales. This is another one of my favorites from the batch. It's called Always and Forever. This is Let Your Dreams Blossom. Cherry Tea. Dream Big. She Sells Seashells. Blue Jay Kind of Day. That's Plum Crazy. And this one is called Cool Cat. So yeah, really beautiful colors. I really love all of the pinks and like the purples and the blues. It's really fun. And I mentioned that this kind of ties into what I was talking about previously with my crochet granny square blanket. I was like, that'd be perfect for my Scrappy granny square blanket, but there's so much here. And I kind of have gotten into the rabbit hole of looking up crochet blanket patterns. They're just so beautiful. I just feel really attached to granny square blankets right now. I don't know why. So I follow Nautical Crochet on Instagram. They make beautiful beautiful blankets out of crochet granny squares. They use a lot of hand-dyed variegated yarns, and I've been really inspired by the Hygge burst blanket that they have on their Instagram and on Ravelry as a paid pattern. And on Ravelry, the pattern photos show the granny squares being made out of different solid colors and then all connected by like a white or an undyed yarn. But on Not a Crawl's crochet blog, there is a free pattern. It's the same pattern, but they use one variegated hand-dyed yarn for each square in the pattern, and I think it was a collaboration with Hue Loco. And it's a DK weight pattern, and it utilizes a sunburst granny square, which I have made a practice square out of some leftover DK weight yarn. So I think I did this on a 4.5mm hook. I'll probably size down because this is supposed to be about 3.5 inches, and right now mine's like 4 inches like wide and tall. So it's a really fun like puff stitch and cluster stitch granny square, kind of looks like a flower, and I just really like that pattern. So I thought it'd be great to use some of these variegateds in that blanket. There are 9 colors and 99 squares, I believe, so you make 11 squares per color, and there's a whole chart in the blog about how to lay out the colors. And I think as long as you pick colors that kind of coordinate, and even if they don't coordinate, I feel like the color chart, like with the repetitiveness of the squares, it's gonna look good no matter what. So my plan with this yarn is to select 9 different colors that I think will coordinate well in a blanket, and I think I'm gonna make that blanket. And it's kind of different than a Scrappy blanket because I would have all of the yarn ready, so it would kind of have like a, not a deadline, but like an end goal. Whereas I feel like Scrappy projects, you know, sometimes they don't really have an end goal because you don't know when you're going to accumulate enough scraps to actually finish it. So I feel like I really like the idea of starting this crochet blanket and also continuing my Scrappy crochet blanket. Also, this is DK weight, where the Scrappy one that I'm making is fingering weight. So I think the DK weight one should go a lot faster. I do plan on, you know, holding this yarn double and making all of those squares. Wow, I just really like this color. Definitely keeping this one. So thanks again to Arcane Fiberworks for generously gifting all of this yarn. I'm really excited to pick out some colors for my blanket project and set aside some colors for a giveaway. So if you haven't subscribed already, would definitely recommend it. If we can get to 20K, I will start to coordinate that giveaway for you all. My next acquisition is a really fun one to share, and it is the new Sari Nordlund book, Softly Timeless Knits. So I was in Washington, D.C. this past weekend, or in the area, visiting some family, and I went to one of the local yarn stores in the area called Fibre. They are in Alexandria, and it was a beautiful store. I can't believe I haven't been there before because I've been to D.C. a few times now. And it's stunning. They have a beautiful selection of yarns. They carry Knitting for Olive, they carry Dererum Natura, Spin Cycle, Wool Dreamers. Those are all brands that I would love to try. I don't have super easy access to at my local yarn stores, but it was really cool to see those yarns in person at the store. They also had a beautiful book selection, including the Sari Nordlund book, which I was able to pick up, and I was able to pick it up for $36. And as of right now, they still have some in stock. They do ship, so if you're in the States trying to look for this book, I do know there are a lot of stores currently sold out, but as of today, March 8th, they still have some available on their website. But I've been eager to get my hands on this book because I'm definitely in a Sari Nordlund phase. I'm definitely super into all of her patterns. If you haven't noticed, I've been knitting a lot of them and have been putting a lot of them in my upcoming project plans. And this book is just a beautiful book. It's hardcover, it features a cool little bookmark, and it just has a lot of stunning photography. All of the photos were taken place in Paris, and it's just like a beautiful, in addition to being a beautiful pattern book, it's just like a beautiful coffee table book with all of the photos, and I'm just feeling so inspired by everything that is in here. The book features 22 patterns that are exclusive to the book and not available elsewhere. They are a variety of different patterns. There's a good amount of garments, but also a good amount of accessories. I think there's a good variety in skill level as well for these patterns. You know, Sari Nordlund is known for her complex sort of cables and lace charts on her patterns, but there are a lot of simpler designs in here as well. The patterns feature a variety of yarn weights, including some fingering weight and DK weight socks. There are a lot of DK weight sweater patterns, some worsted weight sweater patterns. I think there's like a sport weight. So there's a good variety, I think, for any sort of knitter, whether you're new to Sari Nordlund's patterns or you know and love them like I do. I think this is a really good book to own if you're interested in any of the designs. I'm already really eager to get some of these patterns on my needles. I'm already bookmarking some things, setting aside some yarn I have in my stash to knit with. I feel really inspired by my yarn stash, thinking of all the possibilities of how I can apply the yarn I have to these patterns. A couple patterns I have my eye on. The first one is Antiope, and all of the patterns are named after, I think, Greek mythology or Greek gods. So I definitely had to look up all these pronunciations before filming today. But Antiope is a very classic raglan pullover with all over cables. I feel like it's a very traditional, timeless design, hence the title of the book. And I feel like this would be really good to make for my husband. I feel like this is it could be a great men's sweater for just that classic cozy cabled sweater look, the Chris Evans look. The Apollonist sweater, at first I wasn't too interested in until I flipped the page and then saw the boucle version, and I think that looks really fun and really cozy for the winter. The Asopo cardigan, I really like this cropped fit that they have. There are two different lengths available, short and long. The short or the cropped fit I think looks really stunning. And this is a worsted weight cardigan, and I do have a pre-order from Woolberry Fibre Co. that will come at some point, where I ordered the worsted Rambouillet base in the color It's Bread, which I'm really excited for. I think that would be a great combination for the sweater. The Nilo cardigan, it looks so stunning. I know it'll take me like a whole year to finish, but it just looks so beautiful. I love it all the way buttoned up. I think it would be a great use for my Knit Picks palette in the color Mist. This is a DK weight pattern, so I would hold the palette double to meet the DK weight gauge. It looks both really fun to knit and really fun to wear. The Akaloes tank top looks beautiful. It is a DK weight tank top, so I am kind of curious how that would knit up, knowing it's kind of a thicker fabric for the summer. But I think if I can get my hands on some silk DK yarn, like a 50% merino, 50% silk, that would be a really fun, stunning summer knit. And obviously, you know, everything else in the book, I totally could see myself knitting in the future. So I think that this is a good investment for me. And exciting news for you guys. I bought two. I was just like really excited to get this book, and I know a lot of people are interested in this book. So I was like, hey, what if I do a giveaway? So yeah, I bought two of these books. I thought it'd be fun to give away both a copy of the book, and I picked up some yarn as well. I picked up one skein of Knitting for Olive Merino. This is in the color Oatmeal. And then I picked up one skein of Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair. This is in the color Linen. So they're different colors, but I think they go nicely together. And they kind of match the book. So I thought that'd be like a fun little gift. And with these two yarns, you can make the Terpsichore scarf pattern in the book. So if you win this giveaway, you can immediately cast on and start a project with the yarn. So I'm really excited to have this available for you all. If you want to enter the giveaway, please comment below your favorite Sari Nordlund pattern. Doesn't have to be from the book, just can be any one of her designs, and I'll select a winner prior to filming the next podcast. So in about 2 weeks, I'll film the next podcast and announce the winner. As usual with giveaways, beware of bots. I will not reply to your comment that you've won. I will only say in the next video if you've won and put your name on the screen here. So just be wary of that. You know, this completely sponsored by me, no one else, not YouTube, not the yarn store that I purchased this from. So yeah, the giveaway will include both the Sari Nordlund book and 2 balls of yarn for one of the projects. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching and continuing to support my channel. I always really appreciate it and love connecting with you all, both here on YouTube and on Instagram. If you don't follow me already, you can find me on Instagram at any_knits. I post a lot more kind of real-time updates with my projects over there. And if you don't subscribe to my channel already, would love for you to subscribe. Looking forward to more knitting and some crocheting in the future. My next video will be my spring knitting plan, so you can look forward to that next week. And I hope you all have a great week and happy knitting. Bye everyone.